All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Really looking forward to talking more today about manufacturing commercial operations, which is one of ServiceNow's new products within industries. So MJ and I are going to be tag teaming this, talking a little bit about the different applications and the different use cases that go into manufacturing commercial operations, and as you may hear it called MCO. So really excited to talk more about this. So with that being said, we can go ahead and get started here. So just a little bit of an overview of the agenda, just some intros, who we are in our background. We'll talk around, like, first and foremost, what is MCO? So what does it actually mean? What are the use cases? How is it used? What are the other applications that it ties into in the ServiceNow platform? We'll talk around what is customer service management, which plays a big role in MCO. So we'll go over that. I'm going to hand it over to MJ to talk around sales and order management, which is one of the newer products within ServiceNow as well. And MJ has a very deep technical background in order management from his time working in telecom over the past several decades. Use cases, then we'll open it up at the end for Q&A. All right, so just to get started, I think most of you guys know me, but my name is Josh Brostoff. I lead our customer and industry workflows team. Been working on ServiceNow for the past 9 years, based out of the Boston area, and worked at several ServiceNow customers before moving over to GlideFast about 7 years ago. I'm really just, mainly focus on everything CSM. That's my passion. That's what I've been doing for the past 5 years. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and hand over to MJ to introduce himself.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Josh. So my name is MJ Cookenbrod. I'm one of our leaders in our telecom industry. As Josh mentioned, I have a background of about 20 years in the telecom industry with some large Fortune 500 company. I have done everything as well from ServiceNow, from ITSM, the CSM, the CMDB. If I was able to get my hands on it, I love to get into the code. I love to figure out solutions and get them in play. So that is what I'm helping lead here with GlideFast. I'm helping lead in how do we put our solutions specifically around different industries and how do we utilize ServiceNow to make them successful. So that's why we're here to talk about the manufacturing industry today and give you guys a glimpse of what it's going to be like to put ServiceNow around the manufacturing industry.
Excellent. Thanks, MJ. All right. So just to get started here, want to kind of level set and just talk around manufacturing, right? And some of the pain points that customers have in the manufacturing industry, right? So obviously a big one, quality control issues, making sure that products are safe. There's consistency among the products that are coming out of machinery, right? If there's issues with the machines, how that may impact the quality, right? So making sure that there's consistency among the products that are being produced by manufacturers. The second is equipment downtime, right? So this is a big thing when you have equipment downtime, all of the downstream impacts that come as part of that. So if you're a car manufacturer, you have people who place orders. If the machine that is making a particular piece for the engine goes down, obviously all of the delays that come up as part of that. And then you face other things like, deferred revenue and all other types of issues that come up as part of that. You're not able to make certain cars or other things like that. The other piece is the integrations, right? So when you think about manufacturing, all of the different technologies that come into it, from the time that the order is placed to the customer support after it, right? If you think about things like recalls, all of the purchasing, everything that goes into it, there's so many different pieces of technology that need to be integrated together to make this work. And that's something we're going to be talking about, how ServiceNow can really help with integrating all of the different technologies all in one platform. But without it, it's obviously a big challenge of, trying to integrate 10 different applications through REST APIs, and what happens when things fail and start to break down. So customer support obviously is another big one. You have so many different customers as a manufacturer that you're shipping product to, and really need to make sure that, when there are issues, how do what's the intake process for those, how those issues get resolved, and making sure that, the products that you're shipping out are safe, and when they're not, how do you help support those issues and make sure that things are resolved in a timely manner? And last is inventory management, right? So I'm sure everyone here has probably experienced some impact of inventory management, especially during COVID over the course of the last 4 years or so. This has been a huge problem of being able, manufacturers and companies having the inventory to be able to ship out to consumers and all the impacts that come along with it. I know personally, I've waited months and months to get things like a couch or other things that I've ordered. So this is again another big pain point within manufacturing, especially as of recent. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hand it over to MJ to talk a little bit about some of the key concepts of operational technology versus information technology.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as y'all heard, Josh was mentioning a lot of machines. He was talking a lot about the factories. This is very specific when we're talking about manufacturing, that it is a different type of good and at a different layer. We're used to talking about information technology. We're used to talking about the PCs, the servers, the mail servers, DNS servers. That's where a lot of our interaction, especially talking with ServiceNow and other customers, where we typically are at, what they're working with. But when we're talking manufacturing, there's a key term that you have to keep in mind, which is called operational technology. So you'll see it typically called OT. So if you hear about OT inventory, OT equipment, these are the robotics, these are the sensors, these are the different types of control modules that actually make the factory line work with the many different teams under the covers. And this is why, as Josh said, if you looked at the pain points, this is why it's important to understand that there are many different steps. There's a lot of very critical software that you have to pay attention to, critical components. If things like sensors go down, that can mean millions of dollars to an industry just by a degree of temperature not being paid attention to. So inside of ServiceNow, you're going to see there's a difference. There's a difference between the type of equipment in there. There's OT inventory in your CMDB, and there's IT inventory in your CMDB. And they have to work together to get it done. But when you're talking manufacturing, you've got to talk OT. Additionally, another term that you're going to hear pop up as well is called the ISA 95 equipment model. This is their version of a CSDM. This is the industry standard that says in an industrial factory, these are how you categorize and label your different production equipment and how you put them together so you can understand the flow, what connects to what. So being in a different industry, you have to focus on these to ensure that you preserve the success for the customer, because we have to make sure that all of these things are displayed across all of CSM, all across their ITSM. So that's what you're going to see over the next couple slides.
All right. So what we're going to talk about now is really introducing MCO, right? So the different parts of ServiceNow that really make up everything that encompasses MCO. So at a high level, really like two of the biggest applications that are part of it are customer service management and as well as sales and order management. So what you see here overall are the different components of the life cycle of everything that goes into manufacturing. So all the way up, from selling, right, to streamlining and supporting the product. So the overall life cycle, when you think about everything that has to go into manufacturing. So it starts off with, subscriptions and services management, self-service for customers. So things like ordering new products, and then going into resolution and support, all of the case management that goes along with that. So again, talking around CSM and everything from that point on. So this is kind of an overall view of everything that encompasses MCO, and we're going to talk about here in a second the specifics of what's in ServiceNow that makes everything up. So what is MCO? So going a little bit further. So it's a single platform, right, for managing everything from start to end. Like I was saying, sales and order management to customer support and everything in between. And obviously ServiceNow has, a big component of it is the CMDB and all of the different products and assets and how you can track everything within ServiceNow. So some of the benefits of this is first and foremost, you have it in one platform, right? So you have all of these from an integration perspective, you have all of these things tied into one place. So all the way from when the order is submitted, if a customer has a concern or an issue, they can submit a case. So when we think about all that, there's no longer that need to do those types of integrations with different types of technologies when you have it all at one. So when you think around growth and all of the different workflows that you have for defining your manufacturing processes, you can look at processes like Flow Designer, right? All the different features that ServiceNow provides as part of that to help really improve your customer experience. So some of the key features, so subscription and services management, like I was talking around, order to cash, which again, Mark is going to be talking about coming up here, really supporting any of the quality issues that come around it through case management, and just going into some of the key products, which really help make it up. And I think this is a big piece of kind of helping you understand what is MCO specifically within ServiceNow. So the first is operational technology management, which we talked a little bit about, customer service management, and of course, sales and order management. So those are really kind of the key components of what makes up MCO.
And it's about communication. If you think about through the life cycle from end to end, if we're trying to get everybody into one platform across each of these different modules, we need to make sure that we have the ability to get across all those different silos. It takes a lot of teams to do a product from end to end in the manufacturing industry. You have multiple teams that have to work on some of the lines. Some of them have to pay attention to different equipment. So if you need to keep that communication in sync, it's best to be in a single platform that can move from each individual process end to end, which is why they brought up operational technology management. You'll notice in here that there is multiple foundations. So you've got your foundational data, as we mentioned, the ISO 95 model to put everything in the CMDB. You've got visibility. So again, as I mentioned in the very beginning about sensors, paying attention to something as simple as a temperature sensor that is on a pharma product. Let's say you're making a drug manufacturing. You've got to watch when that pharma product gets into a clean room, and you got to make sure that temperature is just right. One little piece off, and you may ruin the entire batch that you have for that drug. So OTM visibility gives the ability to watch your assets from end to end and get a contextual concept to make sure you know what connects to what. Vulnerability is obviously huge. It is huge to have vulnerabilities to make sure that you are not having any single piece of equipment fail at any time. And then, of course, the service management. So these are the ITSM. These are your changes, your incidents, and making sure to go across all the different teams. So all of these in general are encompassed under what's called the operational technology management module. And we're not going to go into detail with these. These are very specific to make sure that the processes flow across the manufacturing industry. So think about them as out of the box type flows to ensure that you have the right processes in the right place that you can customize based on the need of the particular company.
All right. So going in apart from OTM, we want to kind of go through, CSM and sales and order management, talk a little bit about those so everyone has like a good understanding of what those are. So starting off with the key concept of what is customer service management, right? So it's when you think about it at a high level, it's everything around supporting your customers, and specifically within manufacturing, some of the things that we talked around are quality issues, right? Shipping to a customer they didn't receive a shipment, all the different types of things that happen within manufacturing that you would potentially need a case for, right? Maybe there's something going wrong with a particular machine that you need a case for. So everything that happens, right, as part of this is all around supporting your customers. And you can think of a case at the highest level as really an issue or a question that a customer has. So that's really what ties into, the case, right, and customer service management overall. So it provides many different channels for customers to be able to get support, whether it's through portal, live chat, in person, through a kiosk or emails. So there's all these different types of channels that, your customers can reach out to you through, and allowing agents a process to resolve those issues from start to end. And one of the big components of this within manufacturing is when we think about the different products or the different orders that are coming in, the ability to be able to take that case that a customer has and actually know the context of who it's coming from, right? So you can look all the way back at, what the order that came in was for, what was included in that order and everything that was in it, and tie those two together, right? And when you're also looking at products with the new data model that was introduced, being able to tie a case back to a specific model. So from an agent standpoint, you can start to see the benefits of being able to fit everything together and get the customer 360 view all in one place. So kind of at a high level, right? What I was talking about before is the interaction between the customer and the manufacturer as we look at this. So obviously we have various different ways that customers can get support from manufacturers through different channels like chat, phone, portal, and email. Also, a big thing as well is, if we need to, integrating with other pieces of technology. So if you think about it, if you have machines that are, if you have applications that are tracking, certain machines uptime, right? So if a machine goes down, we can automatically do things like create a case. So certain use cases like that, you can really start to envision the benefits of using ServiceNow and what that looks like. The other thing as well is with case management, you can also integrate it with things like field service management, IT service management, and request management as well. So, if you have a case that's opened up by a customer and you need to dispatch a field tech to go repair a particular machine as part of the manufacturer, you can tie the case and the work order together as part of that and have them view all in one. So from a traceability standpoint, everything starts to link together. Also integrating things like incident management and change management to make sure that you're going to, mitigate the things like downtime. That's another major benefit as well. And we also start to look at things like the different workflows. You can break it down into different case types as well. So if you have different departments with different workflows and business processes within your manufacturing team, you can start to split those out, and then different teams within an organization can have their own processes as well. So as we look more about this, right, kind of breaking apart, the different data models and how this works together, I was kind of referring to this a little bit more. But you can start to look at your different accounts. So all the different customers that you have and the contacts, who are the employees of those specific accounts. You can also start to integrate things like the contracts and entitlements that you have with the different customers. So when you look at the different service agreements that you have, how many cases are those customers able to open per month as part of that? What's in the statement of work that you have, or how many products is that manufacturer going to be shipping to that customer? You can also track those things as well, and all of it, the different product models, which Mark talked a little bit about earlier, but the different processes that fall under customer service management, it really starts to expand of not just case management, obviously, but we look at across the board of all the different things that you can start to integrate with and expand your use cases to support all the different workflows that you have within your business. So looking at the value proposition again of CSM. So the first is end to end, right? All the way from when the customer is onboarded, when they have an issue, to resolution. So being able to take that from start to finish and really make sure that your customers are going to get the best possible service, right? And that agents are going to have the tools that they need to be able to resolve those issues. So whether it's referencing a knowledge base, looking and making sure previous cases that the customer has submitted, having all of those tools and being able to, use those to make sure that they have a great customer experience. Another thing as well is customer playbooks. So being able to guide agents step by step to tell them, hey, here's what you need to do to be able to resolve this case based on certain criteria. So another big thing in the manufacturing industry, we know, for example, if it's a certain part on a certain machine, you can have a playbook to guide the agent of, okay, what needs to happen as part of this to get this issue resolved. The second is just around being proactive, right? So we know if there's a machine that goes down, right? How can we get ahead of things like preventative maintenance and look at things like that through a combination of field service management, so replacing parts before that they need to actually, before they go out of service or their life cycle ends, being able to get ahead of those types of things and knowing if there's an outage, how do we make sure, how do we get ahead of those types of things and be proactive about it versus just waiting for it to happen. And the third is self-service, right? So customers being able to come in through a portal, being able to drive things like case deflection, so getting answers to the questions that they have, being able to view knowledge articles about those types of things, and not relying on just calling in and taking up agents' time. So providing those means for customers that you have as part of your manufacturing business to come and submit certain types of requests, whether it's for new product that they want shipped out to them, there was an issue with something, or they just need to get general information around one of the products that they bought from the manufacturer. So all different types of benefits, but saving time for the organization overall through a self-service model is a big thing that customer service management provides. So just looking at overall kind of more of the value proposition, right? Centralized case management. So having all of the inquiries and questions and issues all in one place, and being able to integrate those with one another. the automated workflows, so using things like Flow Designer, based on if a customer submits something for a certain product, routing it to the appropriate group, using escalations, and making sure that when we look at supply chain and equipment issues, being able to drive certain tasks automatically based on certain criteria. Real-time tracking as well. So having the visibility of everything that's going on within the organization, especially with outages or quality control issues, using dashboards to help drive those decisions. Another big thing that, is able to be done through customer service management, and also not only real-time tracking, but through things like performance analytics, seeing historical data and then how that ties in and being able to make process improvements based on that historical data. Knowledge management, we talked about this, but helping not only agents, but also people like your customers being able to come in and view certain articles around how they need to do something, or helping agents guide your customers on what they need to do to get their issue resolved. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to MJ to talk around what is sales and order management.
Thank you, sir. So, sales and order management. This is a newer product that's being offered by ServiceNow that is trying to address your end-to-end journey with the customer. So, if you think about it, traditionally, we have gone from CSM, as Josh just mentioned, where you've got the customer interaction with your cases. We have everything from orders. There was order management directly in ServiceNow, where you would talk about getting your order in. We're going to go into that in a little bit. Or with your ITSM, making sure you can handle the support afterwards. But there was one small piece missing, and that was the CPQ, or the configure, price, and quoting. So if I'm in the industry, let's say I am working on water treatment plants and I need to put a new filtration system within my water treatment plant. There's going to be a lot of configuration that has to happen. You're going to want to have your opportunities. You're going to want to have your quotes. You're going to want to design it first before you hand that particular product to the customer and you fulfill it. So sales and order management, the idea behind it is to pull all of those phases together into a single system in which the agent and the customer can walk through those life cycle together, and they'll have everything from the ability to manage the products that are going through it. They're going to be able to manage the entire life cycle from the point at which you talk to the customer with the opportunity to that quote that goes back and forth with them, all the way to fulfilling that order. And it allows them to use all the different types of pieces as they go through. So on the next slide, Josh is going to show the same kind of overview for it. We're going to see things from opportunities to quotes to your capture, your decompose, and your deliver. So again, as I just mentioned, this is your entire life cycle. The opportunities when you're discussing with the customer. Let's say you go to that water treatment plant, you stand on site to talk with them, say, look, what kind of filtration system do you need at the moment? What kind of power do you need with it? Are there a particular specific valves you need a certain throughput that's got to push the water through in order to get to your disinfection sites or your other machinery? While you're going through those opportunities, if you look at the bottom, there are an entire wealth of product catalog between your product, your services, your resources. You create specifications and characteristics for them in which you can define what are those products that you're selling. So how can I put together that filtration system? How can I put together those valves that I just mentioned? Additionally, the prices. So in SOM, they moved to a new price list and price matrices that allow you to actually specify the differences on what each part and each characteristic can go for. Every product offering can have a different price list. They can have a different way that you can sell them or give maybe discounts depending on the customer and the life cycle of them. So from the opportunity, it'll move into the quote where you can go back and forth with the customer for them to make sure they've got the right price, they've got the right setup, you've got the right location, you've got the right contacts. This creates that entire package that makes it easy when you hit create order to create the order and allow you to decompose it. So order management inside of sales and order management is the traditional OM or OMT that you've probably seen in the past with ServiceNow that allows you to break down those product offerings that you build into the right parts to build them together. So as an example of what those mean, if you look here, again, this is just an example of how you would break down the PSR model for an order or for a product offering. There's many different ways to do this, and it's going to depend, just like I mentioned with that filtration system, it depends on how that company is set up, what things you have access to. So in this particular example, you have a manufacturing area that is your product. You're going to give them a service for that area. That could be broken down into a production unit and a production line. So those are two particular products that come out of it to make up that service for you. Under each of those production units and production lines, you have other units. These could be your machinery with your equipment, your potential switches that controls going through them. Each of those units may have an equipment module. They may have a control module or a sensor. Sometimes even off the production line itself, it may have its own control module. But what the order decomposition allows to happen is when you do an order within SOM, when it goes to that decomposition, it looks at this model that you've created and it says, how do I properly break this down to get each one of those different teams the right order to be able to deliver and fulfill this product to the customer? Because as we mentioned with the manufacturing industry, there are a lot of different players in the game. You're going to have many different teams. The same team that works on your sensors may not be the same team that works on your control unit. So you want to make sure that these go to the right teams at the right time so that you can have them fulfilled quickly. So on the next slide, there's Josh can push all through all three of these, but these are basically your value propositions. You've got your end-to-end. Again, as I mentioned, you want an end-to-end to make sure you can follow that journey in one system. You don't have to jump out. The communication's consistent. It also allows you to launch your product faster. You've got a full product configurator that allows you to quickly build your products, version your products, put them into the proper models. So it allows you to launch them faster. So you can get those to the customers and change up if you need to, because sometimes sensors break. As Josh mentioned, if you guys remember over the last couple of years, sometimes supply lines are not there and you've got to change them. You've got to go to a different supply line. So you have to be able to change your project agilely to be able to quickly get the product to a new product version to get that fulfilled for the customer. And just because we're all in the same system, we're able to automate it, we're able to put together those flows, we're able to use all the information consistently across the life cycle, it'll shorten the delivery time, which is the goal. The goal is to make it faster. You want to be able to deliver your product back to your end user customers faster. That's what SOM is trying to do. So again, we're going to talk about a little bit of the value proposition for SOM. How does this fit into manufacturing? There's a couple different spots where it works. First and foremost, remember, as I mentioned at the very beginning of explaining manufacturing, the ISO 95 model, the product catalog has a synergy with it. You're able to follow the industry standard of how do you set up your production line equipment, and the product offerings naturally fit. They fit inside of it, allows you to separate them properly. This also allows you to upsell. So now that you have your opportunities and you have your quotes directly in the same system that you have your orders, imagine that I am the sales rep that goes to that water filtration site that I mentioned. Let's say I'm talking with them and we're putting in and we're even supporting an already built filtration system. But I know there's another filtration system that's better for them. It can make their life easier. I now have the ability to be able to create an opportunity on the fly with the customer and be able to change up what products they currently have with my company. So this is a huge, huge piece of this and why SOM comes into play. Again, reduces the cost because, as you can imagine, the communication between the disparate teams, you're able to very quickly ensure that they're talking to each other, getting the notifications from the base platform and ServiceNow, so that they're very quickly saying that you need something in your support, you need something inside your order to fulfill quickly. Again, visibility, another huge one. Again, I'm going to go back to the pharma example that I gave earlier. When you have a temperature sensor that is watching that, you need to see if it is operating properly. There is a threshold. If it goes outside that threshold or gets close to it, all hands have to be on deck. You have to make sure that everybody is aware that you need to fix this piece. You need to fail over to a different redundant piece of hardware. So having that visibility from end to end as you're fulfilling it, as you're creating everything is very important inside this industry. And again, having that reporting capability. You've not typically been able to see how well your products have been performing. Are they selling well? Are they getting the right trend that you're looking for? All the analytics and reporting within here will allow the industry to go faster, which at the end of the day, that's what they're trying to do. So we're going to move into an example. This is a use case with the company Körber. Josh can mention a couple things that we have worked on with ServiceNow, and Körber's worked with ServiceNow in order to show the value of how ServiceNow can make the manufacturing industry a lot more successful.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Körber, we did a big customer service management implementation. Also did a lot of work with their CMDB as well. but Körber is a major supply chain and manufacturer, and we did, over 10,000 employees in 100 locations worldwide. But we did a very rapid implementation for them. So within under 90 days, we implemented customer service management. We migrated over 120 customers and also, over 2,000 internal knowledge articles to help really drive that efficiency. And also when we think about things like case deflection, that's, a really big piece of this is of making sure that, hey, we're not having our agents spend a ton of time, working with customers, right? They're spending less time. They're able to provide better customer service overall and make sure that they're going to have the best experience possible. So as you can see, just a quote in the bottom corner there, ServiceNow can deliver 100% of our needs, and we were able to go live in just a few months. So really just a big thing about this is time to value, right? Of being able to onboard new customers, making sure that from, supply chain and manufacturing standpoint, they're getting the best possible service, and we're able to move rapidly as part of this. So definitely a big success story that we had working with Körber.
And you also mentioned within the use case just the consistency of communication, because again, the siloed different delivery models that they had, the different supply chains that they had to go through in order to get all the different pieces to deliver their product. When CSM was put in place, that communication got faster. It got more consistent. They had a spot to do it. So that was one of just, again, a fast delivery to pull communication together that increased their industry and gave them success.
Oh, cool. Thanks, MJ. So that being said, that was all that we had for today's presentation. So wanted to see if anyone had any questions around MCO or anything that we can answer.
So, we were talking about how all like sales and order management work, but for every, let's say we're taking equipment or something like that, but the supply that's coming and the vendor, what if it keeps on changing? What if the vendor keeps on changing? Like, how would we put that in I don't know, in this setup? I don't know if it makes sense.
No, 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 not a silly question. That's an absolutely great question because if you think about it, sometimes those supply vendors have to change, and you want to keep that as transparent as possible to your customers. So inside of ServiceNow, there's two ways that they take care of that that you have behind the scenes that can easily switch out your suppliers or your supply chain that you're using in order to engage and fulfill the particular product you have. You could connect those back within order management and use that within your task. So let's say that a vendor changes. Let's say one day I'm trying to get a sensor from company A, but company A has a deficit. They're not able to get that particular sensor to us. I got to move the company B. I do not have to change my entire flow of who I am engaging, who I am going out to, be it whether I'm sending them a case using Service Bridge within ServiceNow, or I am sending them a particular request through one of their own APIs. I can change out that task behind the scenes in order to allow it to go directly to vendor B instead. So I'm going to company B without changing the experience of the customer. And that is the most important part. So everything has a home within ServiceNow. And as long as you're following within the flow, you can quickly change out those Lego parts and those pieces in order to get it to go back to the next vendor for you.
Hey, just curiosity around, the release schedule and constant innovation. Where do you see ServiceNow kind of growing this capability? What are some of the function features that you see them maybe adding in the future, just based on kind of customer demand?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think we're definitely going to continue at least and again, like I'm not 100% on this, but I think we're definitely going to continue to see more evolution of the data model. I think when you look at CSDM, right, like first, from the first version all the way to now, I think we're going to continue to see more of an evolving data model and being able to fit that within manufacturing, right, to make sure that for all the different products that manufacturers have, being able to really fit that within ServiceNow. So I think that's one thing that we're going to continue to see. I think the other thing as well is like, from an overall perspective, there's a heavy focus on sales and order management and customer service management. But The more specific use cases, I think, when you start to look into the manufacturing industry, what are other processes that start to happen that are really more like specific to manufacturing? So things like recalls, right, or quality and control issues. When those things happen, obviously there are steps and workflows that have to happen behind the scenes. So if there's an identified issue with a machine, right? What is the process and workflow that happens between that? So I think, at least from what I could see happening, is more specific apps to help address those types of common use cases and issues that I was talking about at the beginning. Because I think right now there are tools to solve it in ServiceNow, but I think as the product continues to evolve, right, being able to really get like a predefined workflow, a predefined data structure for how to solve those issues for customers is what I see potentially coming down the pipeline. And who knows if they'll actually proceed with that, but that's what I could see from an industry perspective of really trying to dig deeper into the specific pain points that they have.
And Josh, I'll add to that as well. I mean, I think another piece that's going to be big over the next few years that you're going to see is all the data is going to be inside of ServiceNow. So as we mentioned, you have your cases, you're going to have your opportunities, your sales, your orders. You're additionally going to have your events. You are going to have your discovery, especially in the manufacturing industry, of putting everything together. Because you have all the data in there, generative AI is going to be crucial. So to go back to the example of what happens if I need a supply chain that changes. Well, generative AI is going to be able to see that you're not getting your orders fulfilled in time that you need. Maybe you're getting a longer due date on them. It's going to be able to make recommendations to the agents, maybe even create a case, maybe create its own opportunity that says, hey, you need to pay attention that your due dates and your delivery dates are slipping with this vendor. So maybe start looking at another vendor, get it in place, more predictive analytics. Or again, going back to the example of watching temperature sensors, the more that you have those incidents come in that say you're hitting the threshold, you may get a change order that can automatically create and say, it's time, replace this, something's going wrong. So I think it's going to be a huge amount around the opportunities that we've got with generative AI, which being able to examine the data inside the system and analyze it. You're going to see a lot of use cases with that because I know that's a big push with ServiceNow right now.
That's actually, I just wanted to ask one thing real quick. So that's actually, I was thinking of asking, was there anything on the roadmap for any assurance capabilities and functionality? And I think you just answered that partly. But yeah, with things like the Internet of Things and the different problems that manufacturers may have with the assembly lines and the different monitoring, robots and cameras and things like that. So just to confirm, there are assurance capabilities in the roadmap for this and to solve those kinds of problems. Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
I have a question, and maybe this is it's actually along the same line of what you were talking about, and maybe I missed it in the presentation. I had to look away for a couple times. But is there a MRP in the pipeline? Because I know that working in this space like a little while ago, that we had a customer that was looking for that sort of functionality, and it existed in NetSuite, but it wasn't something that really existed in ServiceNow yet. Is that something they're moving towards, or is it already kind of out there just in a different form?
It's taking evolutionary steps towards it. So MRP, for others that are asking what that is, that's material requirements planning systems. So how it works, how you put together the inventory for it. The opportunity in quoting allows you to kind of design and think ahead. So you're not creating the order yet. You're not creating the actual sold products, the install base items, the IBIs. You're creating the beginning parts of how are you going to set it up and how are you going to sell it. I don't think it's all the way there yet because, again, you have to create your products ahead of time. You got to create the different specifications, the characteristics, and everything you have. Whereas usually in an MRP, you've got it where it's dynamic, to your point, NetSuite and other pieces as well. It's not there yet, but I think it's on the right track because at the end of the day, the idea specifically behind sales and order management is to give you the option to have that conversation with the customer, to be able to configure it, again, CPQ, configure it the way they need it so you can set it up to create the order for them. So I didn't hear anything specifically. I had the privilege to go to Knowledge this year. I didn't hear anything specifically around MRP. Doesn't mean they're not looking at it, but far as I know, it seems like it's heading in the right direction. hope that answered your question. I know that's kind of a dodgy way to answer it, but there's pieces of it in there.
Yeah, and I mean it's interesting because when you talk about, all the data being in ServiceNow, it's like, oh, you can use like PA or, other sort of machine learning things to make those predictions and be like, oh, I'm gonna run out of, this widget, if I don't make an order for it now. So I feel like the pieces are there. They just kind of got to like wrap it up into a nice package, right?
You got it. Good question.
All right. Well, really appreciate everyone's time today. We'll be sharing this recording and definitely looking forward as we, start to work with more manufacturing customers of getting everyone involved. But thanks again for everyone who attended today and hope everyone has a great weekend.